All right. That was super late. Welcome back to another episode of Around the Mat. I'm your host, Conscious Keelan. We have a panel full of black belts today. We're going to end the year, talk best year of grappling for competitors, male, female, best matches, best coaches, things like that. So we've got a fun one today. Hope y'all enjoy. Introducing first, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, Brandon McCracken.
Howdy, friends and neighbors.
And we have also joining us, as always, our resident expert, 10th Planet Black Belt, Matt Skaff.
Oh, man. I wish I came 2 spots after Brandon. But, yeah, what's up, guys? I'm back.
Welcome.
We also have a returning guest, another black belt, owner of 10th Planet Nashville and 10th Planet Stockton, Tim Freeman.
What's up, you guys? I'm ready. I'm salty. I can't wait to get started. Let's go.
I could feel the salt as soon as
Fucking move.
as soon as you signed in. I was like, "Oh, Tim's got something for me today."
All right, and we also have joining us for the first time another jiu-jitsu black belt, Mike Stewart.
My camera literally just fell as I was going on the camera after all this time. Hi, sorry. Thanks for having me.
All right, boys, we've got some fun topics. It's been a fun year of grappling.
Wait, you got to tell Mike how this thing works first.
Okay.
You got to let everybody know the scoring.
So if you don't know, we're about to play a game. We're going to ask some questions here, get your opinions. If you have a good opinion, you'll get a coin sound, which means you got a point. And if you have a bad opinion or something that no one agrees with, you get one of these. So
the fart noise just brings so much joy into my heart.
All right. Wallow J said no YouTube. I believe we are on YouTube.
Yeah, it's
Wallow.
on there. He doesn't know how to use it.
Hop
He's
on
from
over
Florida.
there.
It's fun.
All right, let's roll on into the first one. We're talking Grappler of the Year. So best Grappler of the Year, in your opinion, we'll go male and female. So let's start with the male. Brandon, who do you got?
Man, you got to start with me. I got my female. I got the best female grappler of the year. Male is there's a lot of different directions I think you could go. Female's Brianna St. Marie. I feel like she came out of nowhere in the last year and a half. Not only did she win the Medusa event, she won the combat jiu-jitsu event. She won the worlds at brown belt, and she's finishing everybody. Everybody that she touches gets subbed. So to me, that's a no-brainer. Male, I don't know. I'm going to have to hear what some of these other guys have to say first before I can really develop too much of an opinion.
All right, Mike, what do you got?
Man, I mean, I'm going to try not to jock ride Daisy Fresh too much on this thing, but they really impressed me this year. So I'm going to have to go with Andrew and for my male. And for my female, and this is going to tie into the other questions too, but I might go Amanda Levy. That was an awesome upset.
Nice. Tim, I feel like you have a hot take.
Male Grappler of the Year, Gordon Ryan, because we're all waiting for him.
Did he grapple this year?
Yeah, exactly. We're all waiting for him to do something entertaining because the rest of these guys, it's like grappling went on pause when he stops grappling. So he's my Grappler of the Year. It could have been Craig Jones, but man, him and Cerrone laid a big dog turd at combat jiu-jitsu, and I'm super salty and pissed about it, man. So I'll tell
nobody speaks ill about Craig Jones on this podcast, sir.
Craig Jones is not the Grappler of the Year. It could have been him, but it's not. It's Gordon Ryan. When it comes to the ladies, man, I don't know. I like my Sebastos, but I'm not super enthused with what all the girls are doing.
Skaff?
What the heck?
Man, to me, this is a pretty easy question. It's Kade Rotolo. It's Kade Rotolo every single day of the week for this year. Dude won the ADCC East Coast Trials in the biggest trials event there's ever been. people are stoked for ADCC and his performance and the people that he took out in that day. Then he wins who's number 1 at 155. All right. Earns his black belt this year. So he does all this at brown belt, gets his black belt to cap the year off. I mean, the dude had a phenomenal year. He had, I mean, the match of the year. I mean, we can just go right into it. Kade Rotolo had like 6 matches of the year. I mean, this kid is a star, him and his brother. But Ty, Ty didn't compete at ADCC. So you could say Ty Rotolo as well. You could say this was the year of the Rotolos. But also, let's not forget Kade Rotolo. I guess that was last December. He ended up winning CJJ, but we'll just say in the past year. I mean, this kid's won everything in every different rule set. I can't wait to see what's next for him, and I really hope he jumps into MMA. Think of all the grapplers, Kade Rotolo's the dude I want to see fight. He's just a fighter. He goes out there and he goes hard. Like he's not afraid to mix it up with anybody. He'll slap anybody right in their face. He's definitely a kid you do not want to mess with. Now, female grappler of the year, definitely tricky. I would probably agree with Brandon. It's Brianna St. Marie, ADCC Trials champion. To me, that was the biggest event this year, was the ADCC Trials. I mean, maybe there's a little recency bias since it just happened last month, but she's a 2-time CJJ champion, ADCC Trials champion. She's the hottest thing on the scene right now. She's killing it, and her and Kade, in my opinion, 2 standout grapplers.
Brandon, did you get a guy?
Yeah, I think so. I was going to say Kade Rotolo until Skaff said it, and so now I'm going to go with somebody else. But I'll tell you who it's going to be. Cole Abate.
Yeah.
Cole Abate. I don't want to say out of nowhere. That's not totally fair. But as far as like on the big scene, he did come out of nowhere. It's like, oh, this is a kid out there. He's beating, other blue belts and stuff. But then he runs through the trials and looked phenomenal. And look, man, I think there's an argument to be made for Keith Krikorian, but man, he dominated Keith in the final at the trials. So I think I'm going to go with Cole Abate, man.
Nice. We got a question here in the comments.
Okay.
What did you guys think about how Strikes opened up the submission in CJJ for Elias Anderson versus Eric Perez?
Well, first of all, I thought that was one of the most exciting combat jiu-jitsu matches that we've had in a long time. It was super fun. Having Goyito. First of all, I don't know if you guys were able to tell in the broadcast, but we were in a bullfighting arena.
Yeah.
In Mexico. Like, that was insane. And so tons of fans, which is definitely the biggest audience, like the largest number of people that I've seen at a combat jiu-jitsu event so far. And I've done pretty much all of them at this point. And when Goyito came out with that luchador mask on, those people went nuts. So the energy in the room was super sick. And then Goyito came out and fought really hard. They had a very exciting, fast-paced match, and it ended in a sub. So I loved that match. I didn't think that the striking played as big a role in that as it has in a lot of other CJJ matches.
Oh, no?
Not as much as
so.
No.
What about
Dan,
Cerrone versus
tell why
Craig
you're wrong.
Jones? Yeah. What about Cerrone versus Craig Jones? Let's talk about how many strikes happened in that match. What did they do? Was there like some unwritten agreement that Cerrone wasn't going to throw an open hand strike? He was going to play the whole time? Like, what a waste. What a waste. Here we had one chance for Cerrone to slap Craig Jones right in his face as he tries to invert, do something fancy. And he doesn't do it, man. He wasted a golden opportunity to show exactly what combat jiu-jitsu is like, man. Oh, I'm so upset. I can't believe it happened. I'm so upset about it, man.
It didn't upset me. It didn't upset me that bad. I think the result that was always going to happen happened.
How could we know? Was Cerrone's were his hands broken? Was he not aware of this rule that he could throw a strike and actually strike Craig Jones? Like, we know that
he struck him in the face while he was tapping.
It was, come on, man. Like, I really, really. Oh, I would text you as soon as it happened. I was like, I'm texting Brandon. I was shaking. I was so.
Bro, I was still on the broadcast, and Tim was like, "What's going on?" But no, it didn't bother me that much. I thought it was an exciting, fun match. It was a Cowboy. I mean, he got a takedown. Look,
So what part of that was combat jiu-jitsu, though? That's my whole point. That's not combat jiu-jitsu. That's two guys grappling.
I disagree. I disagree because it's not necessarily the striking that makes it fighting. It's the potential for striking, right? And so just the idea that if I open up and open space for this guy, Craig is going to rip my leg off, or he's going to get underneath me and sweep me.
Okay, what you're talking about is LARPing. What I'm talking about is combat motherfucking jiu-jitsu. Okay? I'm not talking about what I could do, what I might do if I had a this or a that or a force field. I'm Donald Cerrone. I got big fucking hands, and I've been fighting in a cage for the last 15 fucking years. Slap Craig Jones in his face, man. He needed to unleash it. I want to see it. We got to see a rematch. This is bananas, dude. We got to see this, man. Make it happen, Brandon. Make it happen.
What do you think, Skaff?
I thought it was a terrible match, personally. It just looked like there was kind of a gentleman's agreement to not go hard. It just looked like a fixed match a little bit. I mean, not a fixed match just in the sense that these guys have already rolled together, and it just looked like it was like, oh, like Cowboy knew the score, so he didn't even try. It looked like it looked like Gary versus Gordon, just like, hey, we know the score. He gives it back up and shit, like similar match, just not fun. To me, it took an event that was really good and just kept it being good. Like, this was a good CJJ, but this had the potential to be a great one. And dropouts were a huge factor. We had Rashad drop out. That was the match I was most excited for, was Rashad versus Ryan.
Yep.
But then they throw Uriah Faber in there as well. And I was like, oh, dude, Uriah Faber's fighting Elias Anderson. I think Uriah Faber versus Elias Anderson was going to be a barn burner. I
think Uriah's still into it. He had some passport situation coming.
We need to get Uriah Faber. I think he's the perfect guy. But I'm with you, Tim. I watched that and I was disappointed.
What about you, Mike? What do you think about Cowboy versus Craig?
Well, I got to be delicate here because I'm very good friends with Cowboy's manager. He's a good friend of mine. But
you don't have to be delicate.
I
love Cowboy. Don't hit me, Cowboy. I think you're a great guy, man.
But I do. I mean, I see what you're saying, Bmac. Like, when there's the potential for strikes, it definitely shuts rolls down for sure. Like, when you know that if there's posture or what have you, that he's going to be less likely to open up with the striking because Craig's that dangerous. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it did seem a little too friendly for me. I mean, you want to see these guys going at it. You know what I mean? Like, at least I did. I mean, I wanted to see some blood. But I think it's tricky too for a fighter like Cowboy. Like, you guys know, when you have an athlete and they want to fight, they want to grapple, they want to do gi, they want to go no gi, they want to go do Muay Thai smokers. It's hard to get them to switch gears. You know what I mean? So you have, I don't know. That's new territory for Cowboy. I don't know.
Overall, I think it was good, like, that Cowboy did it. I think that was a pretty awesome thing. That, like, Cowboy was out there. That had a lot of potential there for that to be a great thing, and that puts a lot of eyeballs on it, and that's a pretty dope thing. But, like, we can't have every UFC guy come through there and have a match like this, because then it's like we may as well not even have the matches.
Yeah, it's almost like it's almost like man, I said I'd be delicate, but it's almost like Jake Paul picking his opponents. Like, he's picking the least talented strikers in MMA. And not that Cowboy's not a legit black belt, but he's not the best grappler in the UFC, like, not even close. You know what I mean?
Dude, remember when he subbed Dos Anjos twice at Submission Underground? Does nobody remember that? Dos Anjos is an amazing grappler.
He's not bad, yeah. Especially if he gets slapped and open hand strike. Then he's great.
I think what we really saw is that old Silver, Craig Jones. Listen, man, like, we could say Gordon Ryan's the best in the world, but Gordon's not competing right now until ADCC rolls back around.
Yeah.
But until Gordon is back on the scene, Craig Jones is number one. The level and the difference between Craig Jones grappling versus every other grappler is
Yeah. Well,
That's what I think we saw. I think we saw
Yeah.
it looked like that because Craig is so good. Cowboy's good, dude. Cowboy's really good. And Cowboy showed a couple of glimpses in that match, like, oh shoot, he's out here to put Craig on his head. But Craig is just he's so much better.
well, Cerrone's rash guard was too small too. That was really annoying me too. Like, I don't like that fucking riding up all. It's like what? Nah, we gotta fix that.
You're not a crop top guy.
I knew something was off as soon as I saw that crop top rash guard. I'm like, something doesn't smell right in Mexico, baby. Like I'm telling you,
that was true. That was true.
Dude,
But,
here's the thing. Here's what because Tim, I feel you, dude. And I think Craig is phenomenal. I'm still not convinced he's the number one guy in the world. I mean, Gordon's left that huge void. Craig is very beatable, and especially in certain rule sets. And I actually thought CJJ was a rule set that he can be beaten. Like I think Craig. I would like to see Craig do an actual combat jiu-jitsu match. It just didn't look like an actual match. I mean, I'm not saying it was a fixed match. It just looked like a friendly roll at the gym. It didn't.
It looked like a roll in the gym, but I think that was a product of how exceptional Craig is, not of how poorly Cerrone did.
It's because they had rolled before. I just think Craig knew the score, or excuse me, Cowboy knew the score, and he wasn't going to go in there. And then there might have been a little talk of like, hey, Cowboy's like, hey, you don't break my leg, I won't try and break your face. And they're kind of
no, there was none of that. I mean, I interviewed both guys. I spent time with both guys. And by the way, it was Cowboy who called Craig out. So you're like, it was a made match. We're trying to get these. Cowboy wanted to get Craig on submission underground, which is what put the idea into Craig's head in the first place. So when Eddie hit Craig up like, hey, you want to come do combat jiu-jitsu? He's like, yeah, I know who we should do it with. And because Cowboy was wanting to do one on submission underground, so we got him for combat jiu-jitsu instead. I think it's just there's levels to the game, man. Craig is a specialist, and Cowboy is incredibly well-rounded mixed martial artist who is a black belt, but he's not on the level in the one specialty that Craig is.
I think I know how to fix it, though. I think I know how we could fix it. In the beginning of the match,
I sense the joke coming.
Every combat jiu-jitsu match, no, for real, we line them up, and each guy gets 5 rapid-fire strikes to the face. And then that way we're going to guarantee that some slaps are going to get thrown, right? So we get it right out of the gate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then he gets his 5, and then go.
Hey, I got to be honest with you. I got to be honest with you. When I hear you say that, I'm like, that is the stupidest idea I've ever heard.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about some of the not so great matches. What about the best match? If you had to pick one,
I got mine.
looking back at the year, there were some good ones. Go ahead. What's the best match this past year?
My favorite one, and the one that I think was the biggest statement. It's like it was the biggest match of consequence. Maybe it wasn't the most exciting match, but it was the most exciting that ended in a submission and it was of consequence. Was Keith Krikorian tapping out Gianni Grippo at ADCC. It was a super fun match, and it was a match that was a huge, like, Keith has been a bridesmaid for a long time, but never the bride, right? But it was a statement of him going, look, dude, Gianni Grippo is one of the best on the planet in this weight class. And Keith came out there and took his back and finished him. Took Gianni Grippo's back and finished him in a high stakes tournament as you're going to see those guys meet up in. Took his back, finished him, brought the crowd to their feet. It was a dramatic last second finish. To me, that was the most important match of the year. Tell me I'm crazy.
Skaff?
There's a couple of matches. There's 2 matches that really stick out to me. One, Kade Rotolo versus Ethan Crowlingston. It was just a phenomenal match. I think you could, again, look at Kade. I just think Cade's Grappler of the year, most exciting guy. He's the new Gary Tonin. Kade is Gary Tonin.
Yeah.
Gary Tonin's in MMA now, so Kade has replaced him as the most exciting must-watch dude. But I'm telling you, the match that opened my eyes the most, that I really not this one. The 185 CJJ event was phenomenal. And Adrian Neese's match, that first round match, you know, he has an absolute war in that match.
That was Matt Secor, right?
Yeah, Matt Secor versus Adrian Neese. That match to me was everything I want combat jiu-jitsu to be. It was phenomenal. Adrian Neese's guard looked awesome. He was trying to submit. He was trying to finish from the bottom. And I mean, dude, Matt Secor ends up breaking his thumb because he's just hitting. And I mean, he finished Adrian Neese. Like, Adrian could not continue. I absolutely loved that match. That's a match that I would show anybody if, like, hey, like, you want to see some combat jiu-jitsu? That's my go-to match now.
Tim?
You know, I think Kade is pretty exciting. I mean, everything that Kade's done has been pretty rad. But I'm gonna go with Souza beating Mikey Musumeci, only because jiu-jitsu has this way of, like, right when you think a guy's gonna step into the matrix and they're like, he's gonna achieve Hickson status, it's like some guy comes in and goes, no, you're not. So I really like watching that part of the sport. So it's very entertaining for me. So yeah, I think that'd be my match of the year. So that was pretty dope to watch.
Mike?
Well, I'm a little biased here because Gabby Garcia was very mean to me on her Instagram live stream. I asked her a question and she was real nasty to me.
What'd she say? What'd she say?
She was like, she was speaking.
Show me where Gabby touched you.
Show me on
the grappling dummy. Show on the grappling dummy.
Look at Tim.
So she was nasty to me because she was speaking in Portuguese, and I asked politely, "Hey, would you mind explaining? Because I don't speak Portuguese. Would you please mind explaining in English?" And she was like, "I already did it in English. Pay attention." And then Levy choked her, and I loved it. So that's my number one match of the year. And there's a deeper reason. I always enjoy, like, when you see these young grapplers, like, that are kids. Like, I remember watching Amanda Levy, like, isn't she the one that was, like, beating up boys, like, in the playground or something? Like, remember that viral video of her? And she was like a kid. And now she takes out Gabby Garcia, who's, like, you know, it was just and it just kind of shows, like, the evolution of jiu-jitsu and how incredible it's been in the last decade, even 5 years. It's just exponentially. Yeah. It reminds me of skateboarding, you know, like how people are just pushing the boundary. And then in that same vein, you know, I think maybe the only jiu-jitsu match to ever make me get, like, misty was the Rotolo brothers, because I've been following those guys since they were little kids too, and it was just like, look at these guys now, man. You know, like, it was just like, I know, you know, I have kids in jiu-jitsu and I've taught kids, and it's just great to see the sport evolving. I can't imagine what it's going to be like in the next 10 years, man. You see these guys, these kids that are starting from, like, diapers, and it's just insane, man. So those are my two, the Rotolo brothers at brown belt. And I also like the fact that they closed it out together. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't defer or what have you. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or flip a coin. I always
close it out.
Like, we don't want to see the secrets. Come on, no, I want to see a banger. You know what I mean? And I appreciate that for the fans. And then, yeah, a Levy bringing Gabby Garcia back down to earth after she was nasty to me on the Instagram live. That's definitely my number one.
Hey, let's go with this comment here, the super chat. So first of all, shout out for the super chat. Who is this? Olympus Lifting. Wop, 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 super chat. Thank you.
By the way, if anyone tells this to Gabby Garcia, I'm sorry, Gabby, in advance. Please don't hurt me. That's all.
No, that's not what he was saying before the show, Gabby. Before the show, he was like, when we get on this episode, I'm going to take a dump on Gabby and her entire career. That's what he said. That's what he said to me. That's what he said to me. What is he saying? Any tips for a white belt struggling with claustrophobia in bad positions? I do have a tip. Get in those positions as much as possible and start breathing.
Do what Hickson did. Roll yourself up in a carpet and have your brothers roll you up in a carpet and leave you there until you're not afraid anymore.
Yeah, I don't actually recommend that on any level. I would just say do it more. I would say get in bad positions more. Go ahead,
Dude, that's what Hickson did. He fixed it in a day.
I think, like, you know what's weird about claustrophobia? It's like, I mean, he does say that he did that, you know, but I don't. I think I would probably not survive that. But I think it's like one of those things in jiu-jitsu that the more you try to avoid it, the worse it is. You almost have to accept, like, these positions suck, dude, and like the human response is your brain goes like, "You're dying, stupid. You got to get out," and you got to learn how to deal with that. You know,
I'm glad you said that. So, like, you know, I think your internal dialogue when you're rolling is really important. You'll even hear people audibly say like shit sometimes when their guard gets passed, and you really got to get out of those habits. I'm claustrophobic. We dug a tunnel when I was a kid, and me and my brother got a snow tunnel, a snowdrift, and we got stuck in it.
Ooh.
And like, bro, I don't like being in tight spaces. When I watch people spelunking, I get like clammy. Like I just don't like that shit. So when I started jiu-jitsu, I would have literal panic attacks when I would get my guard passed and get stuck in side mount. Now my best technique is definitely like a sucker roll, just reversal bottom sucker roll, like harpoon sweep, some people call it, I guess, because I've totally embraced that position and I actually love it now. And even now, like even as a black belt, man, you get a 300-pound purple belt and they put you in spar for it. That my brain, but what I tell myself is, dude, you're probably not going to die today. You look, you know, and this is one of the few times I'll clock watch and just, you know, survive, you know, like I hate doing that. Like, you know, I'm big with you, Bmac, about early quitting and not scrambling. I hate that shit. But like, sometimes you just got to wait out the match and just die. You know, you're not going to die. The white belt that said that if you die in side mount, I'm very sorry. I led you indirectly, you know, into the wrong path, but you're probably not going to die in side mount.
I'll tell you how I got over it is when I was a kid, I was roaming around on our property and I fell into a cave and all these bats attacked me. You know what I'm saying? Like all these bats came after me. And then, you know, our butler came and he pulled me out of the cave. And what I did, man, is I just embraced that and I took on the persona of the bat. You know what I'm saying? And now today, what? That's the true story.
Now today you have high cholesterol.
It's his butler's fault. It's his butler's fault.
You gave him a point for that,
dude, and I gave you -1.
No way, that was
no love.
I'm just shocked that you guys had the audacity to speak and give your advice after I told you what Hickson did.
Is Hickson Batman? No.
Skaff's got a real axe to grind with Hickson, though.
I'm just saying, no.
All right.
And that's the show.
Moving on. Next on the list, let's talk coach. So coaches play a big role in the grappling scene. Who was the best coach this year? I know a lot of people. Okay, easy. What do you got? Who do you got?
Heath Pedigo.
Yeah,
no question. It's Heath Pedigo. I don't even know who else you bring into the conversation. You can't say Donaher because they split.
Yeah.
Okay, you could say the Mendez brothers. Yeah, that's a decent argument, but Heath Pedigo is taking a bunch of dirty, like staff-infested rednecks. Respect, by the way. I like y'all style. Don't hear me wrong. He's taking a bunch of dudes and rolling them out there, and they're icing everybody from the top of their roster to the bottom of their roster. The culture eats strategy for breakfast, and that's what a real coach's job is to create culture. And so I think nobody is building. And then you can say you don't like his culture, but if you want to win, and you're just a regular old grappler, call up your boy Heath Pedigo.
Skaff.
You know, I think Heath Pedigo is a great choice. I'm a big fan of what Guy Mendez has done. I think Guy's doing it in the I mean, those are kind of the two guys that are doing it at every belt level, Guy and no Guy. I mean, these guys are winning at a remarkable rate in the Guy as well as no Guy. But I just think Guy Mendez is on another level. I think Guy Mendez is the true genius. I think Guy Mendez is, from everything that we hear about Donnie here, I'm way more impressed by what Guy Mendez has been able to do. His ability to break down matches and break down opponents for his students. I mean, Cole Abate does not win the ADCC trials without Guy Mendez. I am positive of that. I am absolutely positive of that statement right there. His ability to, I mean, you just listen to him talk about, we talked about Mikey versus Gabriel Souza. I mean, when Gabriel Souza beat Mikey, I mean, Guy Mendez had it broken down before Cole, like the next match, Cole had to face him, and he had already broken down the mistakes Mikey had made, and he told Cole exactly what to do, and he barely, he lost a split decision, but he looked way better than Mikey Musumeci did just because he avoided those mistakes. He just, hey, we're going to do this in our guard. We're going to avoid trying to, he said Mikey's big thing was he was just trying to get upper body grips, and he was trying to set his legs. So we're going to focus on getting grips at the legs. It's just like, man, that changed the entire match. He had a phenomenal match and lost a really close decision to Gabriel Souza. So just think what Guy's able to do while Heath's created just this atmosphere where anyone can succeed. I think just pure strategy and like purely like, hey, these guys aren't winning, or Cole is not going to win the ADCC trials without Guy. I got to give Guy Mendez. The dude's the genius.
Tim?
Yeah, I mean, I'm jumping on that train as well. I like art of jiu-jitsu. Like, I've been a big fan of all like their techniques, and I watch their videos. I'm a bigger fan of the way Hoffa explains things and teaches than Guy, but I know Guy gets a lot of the credit. I think really the real genius behind those guys is Ramon Lemos. That's who I think is the guy that really set the tone. He's the co-founder of Atos. That guy's brilliant, but he's like the Brazilian arm of all that stuff, and he doesn't really get that much play, but that guy's a really smart dude, and I think he shaped the Mendez brothers at a young age. They're very, very like mature style teachers, and they present a very strong game, and you could see with their students over, say, the last 7 years, there's been like an explosion of guys now that are becoming unbeatable, and they're not just in the gi, they're all over the place, and they're doing great. I mean, so it's hard to argue with the success that they have in their program, man. I mean, but I think Brandon's right. I think it comes down to culture. Like, art of jiu-jitsu is a culture, and if you don't fit into that culture, you get popped out. You ain't going to survive there. Just like if you don't fit in at Daisy Fresh, then you're out. Like, you ain't going to survive in that culture. And that's how it is. And they just happen to have really fucking great at jiu-jitsu at the same time. So, it's pretty dope. So I got to jump on Skaff's coattails on that one.
Give him a poop for agreeing with Skaff. Even if what Skaff said was smart, I don't like when people agree with him.
I agree quite a bit with Skaff, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's why you're not invited back, dude.
Mike, who you got?
I mean, I'm gonna have to go with Heath as well, for many reasons. Again, like, these are all emotional choices that I'm making, because the one Daisy Fresh flow grappling documentary, when oh god darn it, Hillbilly Hammer, I can't remember his real name.
Jacob Couch.
When Jacob Couch was like crying and he broke down, and he was like, Heath was hugging him after the match, and they were all like just hype. And I know you guys talked about this on the last one, that last scrap that they allowed them to have in the gym. Like, I'm just all about that, man. Like, I really there's more to coaching than just winning, in my view. You know what I mean? Especially as you get older, and like, you can't push yourself with your students as much as I could 10 years ago. I still like being in the trenches with them, but seeing my guys develop like in their personal lives as well as in the gym, and like seeing those kind of go hand in hand, to me, that means a lot. So I'd have to go with Heath as well. And because, like, again, we have to look at where these guys started too, nothing against AOJ, but they're pretty established. You know what I mean? They've had some time to get that, and that's why they're as good as they are. It takes time to develop. I wonder how good Daisy Fresh is going to be in 5 or 10 years, man. It's just going to be ridiculous, dude. I have another one too. It's not exactly BJJ. Is that okay? It's more MMA coach.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I don't know if you guys follow Goat Shed Academy, but but awesome Zadi, awesome, who runs that gym. my God, what a coach. Same deal, like taking a lot of people, especially like with that. He has a lot of Cubans in there, and like taking that that immigrant work ethic and shaping these guys, and again helping them succeed off the mats too. That to me is like that's just great. You know what I mean? And his guys are winning. Like you got to do both. If you're not winning, it's not that's why you're there. But seeing them develop their guys off the mat and stuff like that, and that means a lot to me.
Yeah, that guy's got a sick IG, Goat Shed Academy. He's got a really cool, he's always got awesome content, great stories, great. I mean, I'm a fan for sure.
Yeah,
so
big time.
We touched on MMA coach right there. Let's just hop into the next topic. And who is the best MMA fighter of the year? A bunch of good fights.
Oliveira.
Charles Oliveira.
It's Oliveira, dude. Like who represents their individual discipline better in MMA than Oliveira? Like Skaff, you know how I feel about the back in MMA. Y'all hear me, and if you watch this podcast, you hear me rant about it all the time. The back is not the best position in MMA, and I'm always saying all that stuff. But what did I say right before the match against Poirier, Skaff?
You said it doesn't count with Oliveira.
It doesn't count with Oliveira because he's cream of the crop, and he uses his particular. And look, he's a phenomenal striker. He's phenomenal in all the aspects, of course. But he's representing his art, his Brazilian jiu-jitsu at the highest possible level. And he's a game time player, dude. He's a finisher. He's a game time player. He's a champion. He's fun to watch. He inspires. And then he puts them little glasses on and he looks like a little Brazilian Clark Kent, but he will rip your skin off. And I love that, dude.
Oh, that was great.
Who do you got?
Man, the MMA, there's been a lot of fighters, but there's one guy that he's really stood out in this COVID era, and that's Chimaev. Chimaev is the dude. He is the future. He's the most exciting guy right now. He's who we all want to see. I mean, I was so disappointed when old Leon Edwards was like, nah, I'm not going to fight him, and on that card. I mean, you just imagine that the last pay-per-view in the year would have had Chimaev versus Leon Edwards. Him picking up the old Li Ji Lang and talking to Dana White, best moment in MMA this year. It really just showcased another level of dominance. This guy, I mean, it's at the point where next year, what I want to see is him fight two guys on the same night. I want to see him open up the card and finish a card. Just hey, he's going to be the first fight of the night and the last fight of the night. And he's the guy. I want to see that.
Tim?
I think the most exciting fighter of 2021 is Sean O'Malley. I think he's the star. I think he's the guy that people want to see. Connor's still Connor. Nate's still Nate. There's still a lot of big names. Like Khabib's kind of we've all accepted Khabib's not coming back. I just figured out that little mini dude is an actual adult. I thought it was a child that was hanging around with him. That guy that's in the camp. I just realized that. Had no fucking clue that it was a grown man. I thought it was child endangerment. And then I kind of thought, this kid's an asshole. He's getting a little handy with adults and stuff. I would slap a kid for that. But I digress. So, outside of that, it's Sean O'Malley. Literally, you got a guy, that's getting more attention. Sean O'Malley's the guy right now. I want to see him fight. He's exciting. I think 2022, he's going to be a mega star. If he can keep winning, he's already a star, but he's going to be a mega star. You're going to see. Maybe we'll see him against one of the Paul brothers shortly. We don't know. Who knows the way things are going.
Mike?
Again, another completely emotional biased decision here. But I'm going to go with my boy. Not a lot of people know about this guy yet. But Alexander Romanoff, undefeated UFC heavyweight. He's the heavyweight Khabib, guys. He's the future. I'm actually bringing him here to live with us and train here for a little bit. You guys gotta look this guy up, man. He is ridiculous.
Yeah, I've seen him. He's amazing.
He's like bread cutter, people choking from half guard, top out, like forearm choking people, and You know what I mean? He actually has a really tough fight coming up. He has to fight Latifi. And Latifi, I don't know if you guys remember, was the one just ragdolling Derek Lewis.
Yeah.
In the wrestling in that fight. So he's got that fight coming up. Of course, I'm biased. Biased emotional decision again, but I got to go with Alexander Romanoff.
Hey, before we go to the next question, I think that it would be appropriate for us to talk about Paul versus Woodley.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the thing that needs to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm real
okay.
interested to hear. I'm real interested. Oh, he had to flip his hat around. Now go ahead and turn it around and say it, Tim. Turn your hat around and say what you got to say.
Well, Tyron Woodley has really disappointed me. I'm gonna say that. Like these Paul dudes are for real. Like this guy's serious, and he's training hard. But damn, man, I really thought the Tyron Woodley. I thought the first one was just kind of like a gimme fight. Like yeah, I'm gonna go make my money, and then he was gonna come back. Dude, people are trying to say that Paul went like this as some signal, like, okay, now I'm going to knock you out. I don't believe that, all right? I think Woodley thought it was going to be a body shot. He dropped his hands and ate it, man, and got knocked the fuck out. And so it's like, damn, maybe you take takedowns away and these guys aren't, exactly what they seem to be with their hands. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe Paul's way better than what we've given him credit for.
Do you think anybody that knows what they're talking about thinks that was a fixed fight, though?
No.
Anybody, even one person?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is my thoughts. Every single person without deviation that said that was a fixed fight has never done a hard sparring round, has never been punched in the face, has never boxed, has never done Muay Thai, never done MMA. Dude, you don't take a shot like that where the sweat is flying off your face and get completely dropped. Like, no, sorry, no. You've never been punched in the face. You think that was a thrown fight?
He didn't just get dropped. He got flatlined.
Yeah.
He was unconscious and face down in a pool of his own slobber. Like, you remember in Wayne's World when he was like, you still going to love me when I'm in my face down in a pool of my own vomit phase? That's where Tyron Woodley was, dude. He was face down in a pool of his own slobber. Man, that boy can hit. Now, is he an MMA fighter? Probably not. Probably not. Is that going to translate directly over to MMA? Yeah, not likely. But that's not what he's up to, man. He's up to big money fights and putting people to sleep. He's not going out there and just creating these fights and these talking points. He's calling these guys out because he thinks he can put his right hand on them and send them into the nether region, dude. Like,
he's knocked out everyone he's faced.
It's wild. I got to be honest with you. It is insane to me to watch. It's complete madness to me. But, I mean, I feel like it's must-see TV at this point.
Well, Tyron Woodley was the cringiest UFC champion in quite a while, right? He just was always complaining. He always felt like he deserved more media attention. He creates, he becomes a rapper. And since he created that, famous single, Beat Yo Ass, this dude hasn't won a fight. All right.
That's funny. I saw that.
I mean, dude, yeah, like the Beat Yo, if you haven't listened to that song, I mean, it's just on another level of terrible. It's so bad. And so, honestly, like I found myself in this fight. Like, I wasn't rooting for people like, he's defending MMA. He's our MMA representative. Like, Tyron, I was like, no, he's not, dude. Like, get that out of here. I'm very impressed with the Paul brothers. I've got a lot of respect for those guys. I think that they create good content. Logan, especially the older brother, I feel like his head's on a little bit straighter. Jake's got some maturing to do, but the dude's like Brandon said, he's becoming must watch. And here's my issue with the whole thing. I don't want a whole card of freak fights. I want 2 or 3 freak fights on a card of real fights.
Okay.
I get it. Dana White will never, ever, ever bring Jake Paul. The best decision he could ever do is do a card with, like a co-card with Jake Paul. Give me some real UFC fights with a freak Jake Paul fight on there, dude. That card's going for 150, and people are buying that left and right. I'm telling you, that is the move.
I'd be the first one in line to buy that card. I would love to see Jake
Dude,
Paul.
Jorge
Even if Jake
Masvidal
Paul
versus
boxing.
Jake Paul.
Let's go, champ.
Dude, Jorge Masvidal versus Jake Paul. Again, another fight where I'm like, dude, I don't want to see Jorge Masvidal get knocked out by Jake Paul.
Just for the craziness factor, just for the
Yes,
insanity.
just exactly. Like,
What about
I love-
Nate Diaz, Jake Paul? Nick Diaz, Jake Paul.
Listen, dude. Okay, Nick. I like Nick. Nate's 21-13 in MMA. That's his record. 21-13. I know you're 209, Tim.
Hey man,
But he's
listen.
21-13 in MMA, dude. 21-13. Say it. Say 21-13.
21-13, but
That's tough. That's hard to hear.
Can you ever count him out of a fight?
Yeah.
Has
If he's
there
on the
ever
card.
is there any fights where he thinks he lost the fight?
No.
No, right?
But the same thing could have happened to him that happened to Woodley, and he would get up and say it was that he won the fight.
They stopped it too early.
I would rather see a Diaz brother box than Woodley for sure.
I'd watch Nick fight. Having said that, I do love to watch Nate Diaz fight.
Yeah,
But say the record again one more time, Tim.
21-13.
Yeah, just keep that in your head.
Well, who's the
Well-
next opponent? Where does Jake go next?
Anderson Silva, bro.
Ooh, I would love that.
Don't do it, Jake. Don't do it, Jake.
No, but what's happening is, okay, you call out a guy like Silva, his reflex time is not what it used to be. So now Paul has this huge
It
advantage.
doesn't have to be what it used to be. It doesn't.
It's
Listen,
not
Anderson
even-
Silva, nah.
Coming
he
off
can't
of
win
what
that
he
one.
did to Tito
He can't win
Ortiz,
that
it makes it okay.
I don't want to see him fight Anderson Silva. I want to see him fight somebody that's like 33 years old, not somebody that's 43 years old. I want to see like, I don't want to see Craig Jones, Donald Cerrone. I want to see him fight somebody. You know what I'm saying? Let's do it.
I just want somebody to die at the end.
He also called out.
No, I'm serious. It's a combat sport. It's violence. That's why I'm signing up. That's why I'm paying the money for the pay-per-view. I want somebody to get hurt. That's what we want. Just bleed. I'm just bleed guy. Let's go, champ.
Just believe guy.
If y'all will remember, Kamaru Usman was talking about boxing Canelo, which I think we can all agree we don't want to see that.
Oh no, I
But-
want to see it.
But Kamaru Usman versus Jake Paul might be interesting. Jake Paul called out Kamaru Usman, and we talked about MMA Fighter of the Year. Nobody said Kamaru.
Yeah,
I think
that's true. When we should have.
I think it's because he's kind of boring, but as far as like what he did on paper, I mean, he defended his belt 3 different times. He had the knockout of the year. Definitely had a great 2021.
Yeah, man, it took me a while to catch on to Kamaru because he was, like you're saying, he wasn't very exciting in the beginning. But I can't really say that anymore. If I had to go back and say it again, I might pick Kamaru Usman over Oliveira for my fighter of the year. But it is what it is. I said what I said. Hey, come on, dude. He's He's amazing.
I know.
He's amazing.
He's my least favorite champ of all time. The guy's so corny, bro. I can't stand that guy. Again,
Who?
personal bias, emotional decision has nothing to do with his skill whatsoever. He's very good, but man, he's such a dude. When him and Colby go back and forth, I can't do it, man. They're the two biggest cornballs in the sport, dude. It's painful.
I love it.
So
yeah, I agree.
what
The lead
about
up to that fight was a little. It was a little. I mean, it just wasn't good. It's not Chael Sonnen level. It's not Conor McGregor level. It's
Nobody is those levels, though. You can't. Well, that's like they're the goats of. Those are the two goats of trash talk. They're the goats.
I mean, what about Conor, man? I mean, Conor, dude. I would definitely, out of everyone you just mentioned, that's what I would like to see. Just to build up, and that's a problem. That's a big problem for Jake, and Conor needs a W here, bro. If he's gonna, I would definitely watch that. I would watch that.
Love to watch it.
And Conor's the first one to make that crossover from MMA to jiu-jitsu or to boxing also, like as far as like a marquee, name from the UFC.
Yeah, that could be a big fight.
what about 2022? We could have some big Jake Paul boxing matches. We got ADCC. What's going on next year?
The return of EBI. That's the thing I'm most excited about. EBI is back. 4 shows in 2022. The grappling event that basically turned grappling into a professional sport for the first time. You know, I would say Meta Morris was really I wouldn't say that EBI started it. I would say Meta Morris started it, but EBI turned it into a professional sport. And then it went away for a little while. So Eddie just wanted to focus on this combat jiu-jitsu, and the people were clamoring to have EBI back. And to me,
right.
as a jiu-jitsu nerd, nothing is more exciting than the return of EBI.
Go ahead, Tim.
No, I don't want to jump. I'm talking too much. Go ahead, Skaff. I cut you off.
Oh no, it's to me it's funny. Eddie accomplished his goal. I'm actually not as interested in the return of EBI. I love CJJ. I can't believe I've become such a fan of CJJ. I love the events. To me, they're more exciting. Like I hear EBI, I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. But I love CJJ now. I can't believe I'm saying that. When it first happened, I thought Eddie was. I was like, dude, this is so stupid. Like, can't believe you got rid of EBI for this. But Eddie, I'm sold, dude. Bro, like. I love it. So to me, it's ADCC. We missed a year, September. The storylines are there, dude. Felipe Pena moving up away, trying to face Gordon Ryan in the first round. We got Nicky Rod, who's got some beef with Gordon. We've got Andre Galval. I mean, dude, that whole thing. I mean, we're not even talking about seeing the Rotolos and, Colabate and all these young guys. Like, I mean, just the Gordon Ryan storylines alone, like, it's going to be the greatest grappling event in the history. I mean, they've spent millions of dollars on this event. It's in Vegas. I
got tickets.
Dude, think about where it was when they were in China, how shitty that China ADCC was. Nobody was there. The stream kept messing up. I remember the matches were super boring. It was terrible. To now 2022 going into Vegas with a true bona fide star. We got Gordon Ryan, and I just think it's going to be huge for grappling.
Tim?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to be the pinnacle for professional grappling. It's going to be the event. Like for all the grappling dorks and everyone who's been following jiu-jitsu for all these freaking years and going all the way back, like to see it get to this level now is like, holy shit, like this is the real thing. Like these guys have big time exposure now. And so I'm really happy about that. Honestly, I'm really happy about that because the cool thing about grappling is it's supported by grapplers. It's a complete grassroots, like all the media, the magazines, the gear, everything. It all came from jiu-jitsu. It literally just kind of built itself up. Not a lot of outside money is in it. And it's pretty neat to see it get to this level. I still, though, also agree with Brandon, like EBI, the thing that EBI was not the first, right? Like there was Meta Morris, and before that there was like that card with like Randy Couture and Jacare.
Grapple X.
It just, nobody had the ability to do multiple shows in a row and actually pull it off. And when Eddie and it was Meta Morris and EBI, and they were going like this, and then pretty soon it was clear that EBI had the heart of the people. Like everybody loved EBI, especially EBI at the Orpheum. If you ever got to go there and watch that live on that stage back in that day, it's awesome. So what the hell? So anyway, but man, it's dope. I can't wait for it to happen again, man. So I'm super stoked about both those things.
Mike?
Well, are we talking about event, or can I be excited about anything?
Yeah, whatever.
I think that this is just going to be the biggest year for jiu-jitsu ever. As far as like an academy, every academy owner out there, I think this is going to be a really great year for us, man. I really do. Just the evolution of the sport and, everything we've seen, the optics from the UFC and podcasts like this. I just think that it's just going to be, I think it's weird, man. We're a little bit jaded because we're in this echo chamber, but I feel like just now the world is kind of like, it's like a second renaissance of people understanding what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu really is. And I think no-gi grappling and stuff like Eddie and Abu Dhabi and grapplers, like, people were mentioning, are a big part of that. I'm just happy to see the sport getting more exciting. And I think it's just going to be a killer year for all of us, man. I can't wait to see what happens.
All right. Why don't y'all maybe talk PGF for a sec while I tally up these points?
Hit it, Skaff. Talk to us about the PGF.
Man, PGF, 2 weeks. It's going to be live every single night. If you are a fan of grappling, you got to check out PGF. What's the date? It's what, January 12th?
January the 9th through the 15th. First
Okay,
games
yeah.
on the night. We're having a draft. We have the first draft in the history of jiu-jitsu. We have 4 teams, and we're going to have 4 coaches, and they're going to draft. I can't wait. And they're going to get paid based on their draft position. So everybody that's in the event's getting paid. It's true
That's cool.
professional. It's a true professional league. It's going to be the Shark Week of grappling. 3 live matches every night, live, free on YouTube. Can't wait, bro.
Well, what really
Nice.
sets the PGF apart is the blue. Like, there's always a blue belt star. We saw it in the first season. We saw Blake Randall. We saw Matt Anderson. We saw those guys really get a lot of limelight for their grappling. And this past season, we saw Evan Stapler and Randy Roden. This season, I think we have the most talented blue belts we've ever had. There's a couple of guys in there that are going to cause some big upsets. And if you're a
There's some
fan
blue
of
belts
watching,
that are going to tap some black belts. You can
100%.
guarantee it.
guaranteed.
Yeah, not just have good matches like, oh, good, he did pretty good for a blue belt. There are some blue belts in the PGF this year that will tap some of the black belts. It will happen.
All right. We've got a clear winner, boys.
Oh, yeah, your boy.
So I'll start out by saying there is a clear tie for last place.
That ain't me.
Everyone had 10 points that came in last place, and then the winner had 11 points. So it was a close game today. Tim, you would have been tied for first, but you had 1 poot today. I forget what the poot was for at this point, but
They're just for breeding. I get sick of hearing them.
And the winner, I regret to
Oh, my
inform
God.
you,
I know what that means.
is
I know what that means.
Brandon
Oh,
McCaffrey.
that's 2 in a row.
Dude,
Oh,
Brandon's
my
won 2 in a row.
Oh, my God, Skaff, your boy is back.
Dude,
I
I
took
honestly
that
thought
hard
this was
L in
Tim's
Mario
episode.
Kart
I
to
thought
Keelan's
Tim was
wife
on
last
fire
night.
today, but he got
Listen, I
booted.
needed a dub. Last night. Keelan's been talking trash on Mario Kart for his wife, saying she was going to whoop my butt at Mario Kart. Last night, I played her online, and indeed, she 4-0'd me. 4 in a row, she smashed me. Man, I needed this dub. This is big for me. Thanks, guys. Make sure you follow me on Instagram.
I tried everything to make sure that you weren't the winner, but
I know you even pooted me one
I
time.
know somehow you got it.
I unfairly, might I add.
I thought Tim was on a roll. He had some hot
I did
takes.
too,
for
man.
you.
I thought Tim was on fire today. He brought your stuff. Everybody was good.
Tim's
I
garbage,
thought this was Tim's episode. Tim killed it. So
All right. Last question before we get off. Egghead wants to know: is Mario Kart how we're deciding the draft order for the PGF?
Man, we haven't thought of. We've thought about it a lot. We just haven't decided yet. So the coaches are going to have to do some kind of coaches challenge to determine the draft order.
Oh,
And I don't
interesting.
know how we want to do it. But I was thinking Mario Kart or Street Fighter 2. That's how I feel.
What about an eating contest?
Ooh, that ain't gonna be fair. Jake Elkins is in the game, dog. Jake will take that thing home. That's not fair.
Yeah. So
Yeah, we'll
it sounds
see.
like it's yet to be determined, Egghead.
Um,
All right. Well, Brandon, do you want to say anything to your people?
just I'm a big fat hairy American winning machine. I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence. Just what I do.
All right, and we'll end it on that one.